Commercial and residential are two different sides of excavation.
Okay.
Both of them are fantastic ways of making a career, but they are different in how you do them.
I'm Tyler Simmons. Welcome to In the Yard, a Western States podcast. From employees with decades of experience to customers working hard in the field. Join me for conversations with some of our industry's best and brightest to hear their stories in the heavy equipment world. Episodes will drop bi-weekly, so see you in the yard. Let's kick it off here and we'll kind of dive through it. So real quick, what's your name? Introduce your role here at D&D Tri-Rivers and kind of just who you are a little bit.
Okay, so let's start out. I am Jordan Richards. I've been with D&D now going on my 15th year. When I came to work here, I left doing concrete and came here for 3 months and haven't left. So, and I started off in the ditch and I was a laborer and I ran pipe for 8-9 years. And then I transitioned into running skid steer and mini hoe, just doing the little things. And I still don't know how I ended up sitting in an office, but yeah, just, it's interesting the way I never expected to do this. I never came into the office and said, I want to be in the office. I don't know. It's interesting the way things happen. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been in this now. This is my 15th year of doing excavation.
Wow.
So
what is your job today? So you're in the office today. What do you do today?
So I do scheduling.
Okay.
So on the residential side, we have 9 employees that are out in the field. So I work for them.
Okay.
So we got 2 guys running dozer, and they're doing usually on average they're doing 4 to 5 jobs a day.
Okay.
And then we have 2 excavators. One is a bigger size, a 315, and he's out there doing septics and footings and majority of the bigger stuff. Then we have a 308, which is the next machine, and he's out doing slab on grade footings and all of the smaller housing things. He's got rubber pads, so he's able to crawl out if he needs to get into asphalt, things like that. We have a 255 skid steer. He's out there full time doing concrete grades, final grades, preparation for the excavators. And then we have, right now we got 2 laborers and a full-time truck driver.
Oh, wow. So you're just managing the day, making sure they got work ahead of them.
Yep. So
going from there.
Absolutely. So yeah, I work for them. I make sure they're able to get it done because I'm not out there doing any of these jobs.
Yeah.
And they do an awesome job.
That's awesome.
They do an excellent job. So yeah, we got the 2 D2s out there running. We got the 305 excavator, the 315, and the 308. And then we also have a little guy, a 302. So As of right now, we're CAT exclusive on the residential.
That makes me happy.
So yeah,
that makes me happy.
For that part of it, yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
That's pretty awesome. Thank you for your business, and thank you for being CAT exclusive currently. Hopefully, it continues that way.
Yeah. As long as the advancements are continually being made, and just so from hopping inside the 255 from the 259, which we had, I hopped in and I noticed the advancements that they did. It's like they were listening inside the cab as we ran them. So there's a lot of advancements in technology and just the platform of it.
Yeah.
The ride control, the way the seat is situated, the levers, everything in it, the backup cameras to the mirror, the visibility coming out, the new design of the front, I don't know what it's called, to where you can dig deeper with the bucket and actually get a bite underneath, the way the machine positions all its weight to get down and cut. It's like they were listening as I was running it.
No.
So yeah, it's a lot of very good advancements, and it's awesome. It's awesome to see that. So
that's pretty cool. So the 255, when did you guys take delivery of that machine?
I believe that was in August.
In
I think we
August.
got it in August of this year. It took a while as we were getting it painted,
And everything.
getting it tinted, getting the greaser on.
Making it special for you guys ready to rock.
Yeah, getting it to where it's our, you know, it's a custom painted machine. So as it drives around, it gets a lot of attention.
Mm-hmm. Why did you
You
guys choose to paint it custom color?
Well, after we had the black 259,
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty good advertisement. There's
Okay.
a lot of people that noticed it, and it stands out in a crowd. Why are you gonna go ahead and get a T-shirt with your name on it?
Yeah.
Why don't you just go down and buy a bulk pack and make everyone wear just a green shirt?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's all about advertisement, and another thing of that, the secondary part of this. So we have, a lot of our trucks, we got some cool chrome on them, and these machines, we got them done up with a little bit of custom. The employees take a lot better pride in it. They clean it. They keep the windows clean. They do more maintenance on it. So it's not just you're hopping in and you're running number 235.
Mm-hmm.
No, number 235 is yours. That is what you operate.
Mm-hmm.
And you go ahead and they come in and talk to the boss and be like, hey, I seen this attachment. I think this would be cool. Okay, let's see if we can rent it. Let's see if we can demo it to see if it's something that would benefit us. So a lot of that is just as advancements come, things that will make the job easier. You sit inside a machine for 8 hours a day. You want to be as comfortable as you can. So, and to take pride in what you do. Yeah, we got the guys that we have run a machine. They're awesome.
Yeah.
They're, out of what I do in a day, none of it would happen if they didn't take pride in what they do.
Yeah.
So that's a fair amount of what we're doing with the customization and, brand awareness, things like that.
Yeah.
Just to stand out.
I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, that's so cool. Like that you guys have connected the dots of like having good quality machines for your operators, making them nice for pride, and creating that pride. So you're creating the brand reputation. You're also creating that pride of ownership and running that machine.
Yep.
I mean, that's phenomenal for D&D Tri-Rivers to be looking at that. So tell me a little bit about D&D Tri-Rivers too, because I'm not super familiar with them. What kind of work do you guys do? Kind of where did you guys find your roots in the start of that?
So D&D Tri-Rivers Excavating was started in 1979 by Dave Matson.
Mm-hmm.
Ends up being my father-in-law. Yeah, so he started off doing septics, and he started off down in Clark County, Washington. So that's where he did, and doing residential excavation down there. He ended up moving to Goldendale for a stint, and then he ended up over here in Pasco. And I think that was somewhere in the 90s.
Okay.
That when he came over here. So, and we've, done a lot of septics through the years and a lot of dozer work. Mostly we did residential.
Okay.
And our commercial side is kind of a newer phase. I think we're at 8 years of doing commercial.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same. Commercial and residential are two different sides of excavation.
Okay.
In commercial, as I've, went out and helped them, you can't really go ahead and make a decision on the fly and change things. There's engineers, there's so many levels that you have to make sure it goes through. Where residentially, you show up to dig utilities on a house, and something was installed incorrectly upon development. You have to figure that out as it goes through. So both of them are fantastic ways of making a career, but they are different in how you do them.
Mm-hmm. And especially from like a scheduling perspective, like
Correct.
your world, right? Like,
yep.
So in the residential world, the crew can fit it. What I'm hearing you say, let me make sure I got this right. In the residential world, the crew can fit it and adjust as they need to do, because they have to make the decision in the field.
Yeah, and we have to know all of our current codes and keep up on all of that, because it does change. The health department comes out with new designs. The PUD comes out with they'll change their perspective of how conduit needs to get ran. Same with sewer, water, we got to make sure our depths, all of our elevations. But that's kind of that. But yeah, as commercial, you have the engineers who design things, and you can't just go ahead and adjust it. It's a different program.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as far as me lining things up for guys on the fly of what they're doing, I, maybe because I've done this for a couple of years of being in the field, I have a general idea of how long it's going to take. And if it's not right, they have to stop and, change a different approach.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting to think that, like, even within the same excavation world, right, you're putting utilities in, doing what you guys need to do, there's such a vast difference in between
absolutely
just two areas, right?
Absolutely.
And then the impact that has on the crews downstream is significant.
Yep.
Right? And then you guys have to adjust and manage through that, which is crazy.
Yep.
So let's go back. So you started out in your first role was kind of as a laborer, right?
I was a laborer for, yeah.
What is that like? Like, when you're a laborer, what was your day like, and what was that?
So when I started, we were doing a lot of septics.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of country lots. A septic system means there is not city sewer stubbed into the property.
Okay.
So a lot of these were country lots.
Mm-hmm.
So septic system goes ahead and runs off the house. You have your tanks, and then you discharge out to your leach field, drain field, whatever terms you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a lot of them, and I was installing all the pipe.
Okay.
So pipe cowboy, labor, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I ran utilities.
Okay.
And we would, say went out to do a house site.
Yeah.
In a subdivision, we would dig down, expose all the utilities, find the power conduit. The electricians would show up the next day and install that. We would go ahead and hook up the 1-inch conduit for either Charters, Zipley, whoever was in that area. We would run it up to the location on the foundation. We would hook up the sewer,
mm-hmm.
and that would go ahead and stub it in. So then the plumbers can tie in from that aspect. And then we would run a water line, put that underneath to the foundation. So then the plumbers could hook onto that as well. So, and a lot of compaction, a lot of doing concrete grades. Mm-hmm. So in preparation for the flat work guys to show up and pour the driveways. So labor is, to me, it is the most important part of any project you do excavation wise. Because if you have a guy inside the ditch who doesn't know what he's doing, it slows down the entire process. He hooks things up incorrectly. You're coming back to fix it. And for the second part of anyone who wants to end up running a machine, you can sit in there and pull levers. But if you don't know why you're pulling levers, that machine is just a diesel warmer. Mm-hmm. It's just burning fuel if you don't know what needs to happen in the ditch. Mm-hmm. So for me, I've always viewed the laborer as the most valuable guy out there.
Yeah.
Because it is. If the excavator operator has to stop what he's doing, and he's got to get down in the ditch and do all of that work because the guy who he's working with doesn't know what he's doing, well, that slows the entire process down. Mm-hmm. And, there is a lot to it, but a laborer is a valuable position.
Yeah. I mean, here recently I was on a pipe job, just seeing a customer, and, you're looking at that pipe job, and the excavator's up there, of course. So that's what I see as the cat excavator.
Yes, sir.
I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
But then I started watching this guy in the trench managing the pipe.
Yes, sir.
And I'm like, dude, that guy's getting it, right? Because he was in water. It was a live pipe they were managing. They had a situation they had to clean up. And so there was water. He was in the trench up to his waist.
Yes.
In water.
Yep.
Trying to manage the current live water. It was clean water, thankfully.
Yep.
Because it's not always clean water they have to manage.
It ain't.
Nope. So he's up to his waist in clean water, managing the situation and working through it. And not only, it was like this, it was amazing to watch. You had the excavator hand there, running the excavator nice and clean. You had the guy in the trench managing the pipe, and this team working back together in this harmony.
Yep.
When that harmony happens and you watch a team work together in that situation, because there's a lot of risk, right? He's down in a trench. Yeah, he's got shoring and he's got everything he needs, but he's underground.
Absolutely.
right? So the risk is kind of high
Yeah.
in that situation. And that team to work together and that harmony and that communication is
Mm.
truly amazing to watch when it's clicking.
Yeah.
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 So I'll agree with you all day long. Is that guy in that trench or the laborer, that's where it happens every day. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And two, so and the other thing too, and I like how you highlighted it. Like if you're the laborer, you got to put in your time and put in your dues a little bit,
Yeah.
because then you can move up into the excavators, because then you understand what's happening.
That's always been my vision of it, because I spent so much time in the trench that I realized how truly valuable it is. Had an employee who was trying to hook up a water line, and I went out on the job with him, and I was fairly new at doing this scheduling position.
Yep.
And I went out, and he was telling me that, I want to go ahead and do your job. And I was like, well, I get it. You see me being clean. You think that it's an easy job. And I was like, can you finish hooking that up already? And he's like, well, I'm having a problem. I'm not able to get it. And I was like, well, this is where my years of experience come through.
Mm-hmm.
And I hopped in and I taught him how to hook it up. I showed him hands-on what he was doing wrong. Well, I would have got that. Yeah. And with enough time of doing this, you will. But a lot of what I do through the day is through years of experience.
Yeah.
And it's I don't really know if you can fake it.
Yeah. I don't
For
think you
so
can.
long.
Yeah.
For so long you might be able to, but it's real interesting of just everyone's perspective of how certain guys can do a lot. Very good of doing multiple positions, but I don't really know if it's meant for everyone. You can't have 14 guys inside an excavator. You got to have guys in the ditch.
Yeah.
So that's
So if a guy wants to come join one of your pipe crews or be a part of that, join that laborer, how do they get trained in education for that?
we do all hands on here.
Okay.
We do all hands on here. Today, with social media,
Mm-hmm.
you're checking things out on Instagram, on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's a lot of educational videos out there.
Mm-hmm.
But the best way to do it to get a career in excavation, go ahead and hire on as a laborer, get in the ditch and learn.
Mm-hmm.
Start working, show up early. Don't lie, don't be late, and don't be lazy. That's three of the L's that I expect out of people.
I kind of like your 3 L's. Did you do that intentionally, or is that
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
Don't be late,
Yep.
don't lie, and don't be lazy.
Yeah, you make a mistake, admit it.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing worse as I'm understanding this now. Say a guy goes ahead and calls me, hey, I broke this sidewalk. Fantastic. I can go ahead and pass it on to the builder. There's nothing worse than getting a call from a builder. Hey, we got a broken sidewalk. Okay. I never heard a word about that. And I call the guy and he's like, no, I never did it. So then, okay, well, I go out there and check it out and I can see tracks running up to it. That's no, soon as we make mistakes. That's what we do daily as we are out doing 3, 4, 5, 6 jobs a day. We're going to make mistakes. We're all human. And the best way to deal with it is right away. Admit that we made a mistake. It's easy. It's easy. We do so much work in a day. Right now we're doing work for, I think we're at 42 builders.
Oh, wow.
It's a ludicrous amount. So we have so many moving parts and pieces that if you don't go ahead and fess up to it right away, try hide it, well, it's going to be in your head and you're going to run over the neighbor's fence on the next job. It does it. Like,
Yeah.
the best way to approach a problem is right away.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't tolerate being late either. That's the one thing that bothers me. For me, 10 minutes early, I'm almost late. So, and the being lazy part, you can't find something to do, clean out a truck, keep moving. There's so many things that need to happen. You see some garbage, pick it up. That's, a clean job site is the best way to go. And that's a representation of the company.
Yeah.
As you check everything out, I'm messy here in my office just because I got ADDs of many kinds. So that's kind of my
You and I
approach
share
to
that.
it. Yeah, that's
We share that problem.
that's kind of how I do it. But yeah, as far as the job site, organized, detailed, thorough, we're professionals in the industry, and we try to be. This is a career, not a hobby.
Yeah.
So
What's cool to think about, I mean, like when you talk about where D&D's was in the 70s and where you guys started
yes, sir.
to where you guys are at today, and how we just talked through, like, hey man, it's this easy to get in, right? Because you just come in and follow the 3 L's and get after it, and we'll teach you how to be successful.
Yeah, and one of the best situations that I know of right now on our commercial side, we have a guy named Dylan who is our mainline operator. 3 years of him working here, he came from Firehouse Subs asking if you want a pickle on the side to 3 years running mainline operator.
Okay.
He got after it.
So what is, hey, real quick, what's mainline operator?
On our commercial side, he's running
what's-
the big excavator. He's digging in all the utility mains.
Okay. What size excavator is that?
So right now he's in a 330.
Okay. So he's then doing the big deep pipe.
Yes, sir.
Managing the big
Yes, sir.
pipe for you guys.
Yep.
And is that like when you talk about mainline pipe and that big one, is that like the pinnacle job within that group and that team?
In our spec of what we're doing on our commercial side, yes, that's our big excavator.
Okay.
And there's a lot of stress involved in that.
Yeah.
So
you literally started from,
Yep.
You want a pickle with your sandwich?
Yep.
3 years
Yes,
ago
sir.
to now running when you guys is big.
Yeah, he's been with us longer now, but that was in that amount of time of he came in, he started off as labor, and he learned things very fast.
That's
so
cool.
Certain levels of growth, obviously it's not everyone grows that fast. Some guys spend 9 years in the trench. That was me. I'm not the smartest guy, but I learned things by doing repetition.
Yep.
And, and then, everything that the company was set up upon of how it was founded and just the examples of leadership, through the years, I would wreck things. I would make mistakes. I would go ahead and call the boss. Most of the time he would laugh.
Most of the time.
I never got chewed out once.
Oh, that's good.
So with that, that taught me how to lead. That taught me how to approach a situation of when there is a mistake to be made. You go ahead and approach someone with, wow, you're stupid. What's that guy going to do? Say they would have, I would have made a mistake. They would have got mad and fired me. Well, here you got a guy sitting here humbled by a mistake that he made who no longer works for D&D. He's going next door to the competition. He already learned from that mistake. They're going to have one valuable employee because you got pissed off and couldn't control your emotions and fired him for a mistake that he made. That's, we make mistakes every day. You got to be humbled by these things, and chances are they won't make that mistake again.
Yep.
My 30th birthday, that was, May 14th was my 30th birthday of, I don't even remember the year now, 2019 maybe, 18. I'm 36. I'm not good with numbers.
You're
but
close.
anyways, so
we're right there at the same age, so it's somewhere in there somewhere.
I don't know. 80. Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so that day I went ahead and it was the worst day I've ever had. My first house I was on, I was doing a final grade. I ran into the AC unit.
Oh no.
Yep. Hit it with the back of the skid steer. Camera was clean. I had my visibility. I don't know. I was off. Had to call the boss. He's like, all right. My second job I go to, I ended up climbing up the foundation, marking it up. So, had to call the boss. Finally, the last job I was on that day, I ran into a fence. And I was like, dude, called him again. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm just going to quit. And he's like, mistakes happen. did not go ahead. Well, from then on, I never hit another AC unit. I don't think I climbed another foundation that I remembered, and I stayed away from every fence. So it was a learned point.
All in one day.
It
You
was-
got all three of
It
those
was
done
a
in one
bad day, dude. It was a bad day, but I remember them.
Yeah.
I
You followed-
remember them things.
You followed your 3 L's though,
Yeah.
right? If you go back to your 3 L's, you followed those 3 L's, and I think that was a big part of that,
Yeah.
which
And
is way cool.
yeah, no, and it's as of where I am today has to do with the leadership of
Mm-hmm.
the guys who are in charge, how they approach things. And that goes a long ways. It's kind of tough to hear a guy saying that he wants to get in hours, so we figure out a way to make him get hours, and then he calls in sick. And to me, I think that we should start getting Flintstone vitamins and just putting them downstairs because, I got 5 kids. I got a wife and 5 kids. I just celebrated my 17th anniversary.
Congratulations.
We're on our 3rd house. I didn't get anything handed to me.
Mhm.
We got after it.
Yeah.
And doing excavation, you
yeah.
can have a very good career. You get up and get after it. That's all you got to do.
Yep.
And, everyone sees the glamour. Get after it.
Yeah. Grind it out, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty cool. Just from where, your history and how you've just got after it and where you're at now today. And you still got a lot of career. Like you and I are both. We still both have a lot of career ahead of us.
I got a long way to go.
We both have a long ways to go, right? Like
Yeah.
you're still looking down that and it's like, okay, some similarities here. I was talking to one of my buddies and I was like, similar story. I don't know how I got where I'm at right now. This was never the plan.
Yeah.
I was going to be
not.
driving a service truck around, fixing everybody's broken tractors.
Yep.
Like when I got here, that was the plan that was in my head.
Absolutely.
I was going to be the field guy.
Yep.
The big old cat logo on my hood. I'm going to
Mhm.
come fix everybody's broken tractors. I'm going to high five and go home every night. That was what was in my brain.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And similar stories there, but I love how, I'm personally going to take away the 3 L's. That you had an impact on me on that today. I love how simple that is. And
Yep.
that's awesome. But I love how you've stayed true and you've just kind of like progressed in your career and helping better the company as you're doing that too. It's not just you. You've helped elevate D&D, I'm assuming, along the way as well.
I hope so. I hope so. But, as I show up to assess a situation or to figure out what we did wrong,
Mm-hmm.
it ain't my name there at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's D&D. So I have to do my best to represent it.
Yeah.
I get a lot of Saturdays that I go out and do septic work. I get a call about an issue. Me and my wife, we were just out shopping on our anniversary, and I got a call about a septic issue. Well, I probably should have ignored it, but I went ahead and took the call, went through, figured out what was going on, got a hold of Dwayne, my boss.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up showing up there, figuring it out. We went by and did work on their house. Will that go ahead and lead to a job down the road? Yeah, probably. But that's the approach of how we got to go about it. And yeah, it's hands-on.
Yeah. Every
So,
day.
Every day. It's, but this is a career. We're professionals in the industry.
Yeah.
So,
That's pretty cool.
yeah,
That's pretty cool. Nice, man. So let's talk a little bit about Caterpillar in Western States.
go ahead.
Right?
Go ahead.
So so how long you been around Cat in Western States?
So as far as I can think back of D&D Tri-Rivers Excavating, we've been Caterpillar dozers.
Okay.
So that is where they shine through. And as far as I can know, I think we did have a couple brand X's through the years,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been primarily the D2, well, D4.
I was going to
was the-
say,
It was the D4
yeah, it had to have
platform
been.
back into the G models,
Yep.
into the Ks, K2s,
Mhm.
everything else that they've advanced to now into the D2 model.
Yeah.
So as far as I know, as a company whole, we've been dozer-wise Caterpillar exclusive
Yeah.
for a long time.
I remember working on just weird
Go ahead.
flashback. I remember working on one of your guys' D4Gs.
Yes, sir.
For some reason why, I don't know why, it's in the Pasco shop over here.
Yep.
You guys were having a fuel system issue with it, if I remember right.
Yep.
It was missing on a cylinder. I replaced an injector on it or something like
Yep.
that. And I think I did it on the trailer because you guys were like, "Hey, we only have this much time." And I think I remember coming out, "Yeah, I'll take care of it." And I did it on the trailer for you guys.
Yep.
And then we shipped it out of its way.
Yes, sir.
I don't, for some reason, the logo's coming back to me. And that dozer, when you said D4,
Yep.
for some reason, it just kind of like all clicked in my brain or something like that. So that's pretty cool. You guys have been doing dozers, the D4Gs, all the way up through what you guys have today.
Yeah, that's been many years. And then what I've noticed on the advancements of, you know, why we're running so much Caterpillar excavators,
Mm-hmm.
technology.
Okay.
You guys are advancing. Caterpillar is advancing. In my simple perspective, they're minimum of 10 years above the competition
Okay.
as far as advancements go. The screens, the startup, everything that they're doing, all of that, the integrated GPS. We run the same brand that you guys are.
Trimble?
We're running Trimble on our equipment, and we have the total stations, all of that.
Yep.
And that's a large advancement of you go ahead and look at buying this brand excavator versus the 315. Well, you have to put Trimble on this and integrate it in. Well, you pencil it out, brand X ends up being a lot more money.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have downtime of there's going to be, it doesn't compute right.
Yeah.
You go ahead and put severely aftermarket things and try to integrate GPS. It just doesn't work the same. It really doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, and, then we'll go back to skid steer. So we started off with another brand. This was, I want to say back in 2012 was the first skid steer we got. We ran backhoes for years. And you can do a lot with a backhoe. It's a very versatile machine. But we're no longer into lots that are big enough to operate a backhoe. So now we got the skid steer, we got the mini hose. That has changed a lot. And we got that first skid steer. And we had a lot of emission issues. And they couldn't fix it. So we ended up parting ways with it, and we picked up a 299 D2. Yes, XHP.
Oh, the big dog.
The big dog.
That's the big dog of skid steers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great machine.
Yeah.
It was just way too big. What are you going
it's
to
a
do?
big skid
What are
steer.
you going to do with 106 horse in a subdivision?
Yeah.
Well, you can push over the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing you couldn't do.
Yep.
It was just too big of an animal. So then we went ahead from there. We got a 289, which we still have.
Mm-hmm.
I think that thing has like over 4,000 hours on it now,
Okay.
which in the skid steer world, that's pretty high for residential running. So we ended up with that. And then in 2020 was when we got the 259 D3. It was the black custom model, and that was a awesome machine.
Mm-hmm.
So once we went ahead and hopped on board with that 59, that seemed to be a lot more of the platform that we were needing in size, in dimension, and it had all that we needed. We got a set of forks for it. We're able to hop in, move material around, put the forks back on the trailer, grab the bucket, and run it off. So that's been huge. And then the 55 came out.
Yeah.
We demoed that. I want to say I hopped in and I ran it for 3 minutes and I said, let's get one.
That's all it took.
Yeah, it was just, and the salesman came out and he slung his pitch, but he really didn't have to.
Yeah.
If you've ran a machine enough, I've put a couple hours on it, so I knew enough of the advancements that were made, the changes that had happened, that it was big.
Mm-hmm.
So we got this 255, and I'm not sure the amount of hours we have on it, but it's a great machine. If you run a machine, you will notice the difference that it has made. it's been awesome.
Well, so what was your first, in that first 3 minutes, what was your first impression that was like, okay, this is it?
Well, so majority of it, as I was pulling back, the new advancement that they made on the track system of where you came up and the bucket would stay a lot truer as it went through for grading out.
Okay.
It wasn't a bunch of jockeying around. So it was a lot smoother platform as it drove. And as you were cutting and grading, we were inside a basement, slab on grade basement that it was, I think this thing was about 1,800 feet, a big basement. And as we were, we have a grade stick that we built onto our bucket. So we have a laser reader. So we're able to go ahead and check grade inside the cab. And we finished up grading it out, and I got out with a hand laser and checked it all. And it seemed like there was a lot less touch up. So
you were able to be quicker, faster on the job.
Absolutely. So if
Wow.
you're spending less time out of the machine, as a skid steer is normally a one-man operation as he's out here doing these things, because you have the labor inside the trench hooking up pipe, the excavators finishing digging, the skid steers inside the slab on grade grading it out.
Yeah.
So that was a lot. Notice that the grade seemed to hold a lot more true. Just, you could still do very well with the 59 platform.
Yeah.
The D3 model and 259 D3, but then to the 255, seemed like it was a lot more holding grade true. A lot of advancements were made on it.
That's pretty cool.
The visibility was noticeably better. And then, we picked up that 305 that we got. We ended up putting a 180 quick attach,
Okay.
swivel
Yep.
head. No, we didn't go with the fancy 360, none
You
of
didn't
that.
do the TRS yet, huh?
No,
What size machine is it again?
305.
305?
Yep.
Yeah, 305. I mean, 305 is a good machine. We just did another customer that we're working with just did one on a 310, and we did full 3D autos on it.
Yes, sir.
And I got a text message yesterday. Why didn't you tell me to do this sooner? From the
Yeah.
customer. But it depends on the work that you're doing, and it depends on the situation, right? That defines that.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you about the TRS anyways, if you guys had jumped into that game yet.
Not yet. I guess one way to put it is we just sold the backhoe recently. Like, this is such advancements,
Oh yeah.
and it's there's so much technology coming out that, there's a lot of other companies that have been running it for a lot longer, but well, it wasn't long ago Dad was running a backhoe.
Yeah,
So
isn't that crazy to think about?
it is. It really is. And
I mean, look at the back. I mean, you explained it there. I mean, the backhoe game was the game.
that's what it was.
That
You would show up to a residential foundation, you would fill the garage, get everything cleaned up. You had a tight side yard, which none of them ever were, but you would be able to grade that all out.
Yeah.
Then you would dig the utilities, clean everything up, and head out to the next
Just
job.
drive it to the next job.
Drive it right to the next job.
Yeah.
And not many builders are going down a row putting in subdivisions anymore. And we put a lot of miles in between jobs nowadays.
Yeah.
So therefore we get the skid steer and the mini hoe.
Yeah. That's really replaced the backhoe. I mean,
It has.
it really has. And also the versatility of a skid steer and a mini X is the size of it, the compactness of it.
Yes, sir.
What you can do with them. I think it's higher. And plus lots are smaller too now. Like they're not as big.
Yep.
Right. So the lots are a lot tighter and everything like that. So it's interesting how like landscape design or subdivision layout and design.
Yep.
We're having to get different tools to be able
we
to
are.
do the same work.
Yep. And, a lot of it, I would say a lot of it of what I'm seeing of why we're not getting involved in all of these advancements is we've never used them.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and sell a product, get demo.
Yeah.
You show up on the site and go ahead and drop it off for a guy to use for a day or two. I feel that will go ahead and sell a lot more.
I'll tell Cody.
Yeah, go ahead, tell Cody, let him know. But yeah, it's
Yep.
I'm not opposed to trying things out.
Yeah.
We've done things that didn't work.
Yeah.
We've tried advancements that have came out. It just wasn't for us.
Yeah.
And, every company's going to be different of how they approach it.
And the work's different too,
It is.
right? Like
It
the
is.
work is different and the job's different, and how you guys attack it
Yep.
is different too from company to company, right?
Yep.
And finding the right tools. But what's still really cool though is how you guys are continuing to look at new technologies to advance, and technologies is a broad word, new technologies to advance your guys' business.
Yep.
Right? And what's the goal with that? Why are you guys looking at new technologies to advance your business? What's the main reason behind that?
My thought upon it of why we're going ahead and doing this is it is helping everything that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm not saying that the workforce out there right now, you hear a lot of complaints about the workforce out there. Oh, nobody wants to work. Maybe they just haven't been presented about it. And I view things a lot different of how to go ahead and teach somebody these things. We had a kid start for us, and he went to the truck and got a Sawzall, and he didn't understand that it needed to have a battery in it to run it. Well, how do you approach that?
Yeah.
Well, I stopped and thought about it. I grew up. My dad had tools in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
I used them all. This kid grew up in an apartment complex.
Yeah.
He didn't know anything about this.
No.
So, and it's not everyone knows of what's out there for positions, for careers, opportunities, how to do jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different approach of how to go ahead and train in employees, hands-on, and explain what is common sense. Well, common sense is not that. There's no such thing as common sense. In the way I grew up versus the next guy, he grew up in a complete different environment.
Yeah.
So, what was your original question?
That was it. It was close, man.
Okay.
Why are you guys using technology?
Yeah,
And I think the original question is why we're using technology, and I think you're spot on. And is a lot of times I think people use technology to bridge that gap of operator quality. But what I really appreciate from the conversation that we're having here and what you're talking about is like, it's almost like come as you are to the company, and we will help you.
Yep.
As long as you do what you say you're going to do.
Yep.
We will help you be successful. And I appreciate your passion or your understanding that not everybody has the same background as you do.
No.
And so common sense doesn't exist. Common sense is a falsehood, basically.
Yeah.
It's an assumption that everybody should know what I know.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is that everybody has a different growing up and a different background.
Yes.
And we have to learn to adapt to the background that we have to continue to be successful.
100%. 100%. And, to get a guy who, say we get a new employee and, he didn't have, his dad wasn't present.
Yeah.
You got to approach that differently.
Yeah.
Every morning when I would get up for school, my dad was already heading off to work.
Yeah.
He came home late. My dad worked for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up with new stuff, whether it be bike or baseball gloves, whatever it was. My dad worked hard to give us the opportunity that there's nothing we can't do.
Yeah.
Everyone operates at a different pace.
Mm-hmm.
And certain guys are meant to do things, and you got to understand of where they came from, their background, and that common sense is not common. You just have to figure out what they know. So a lot of these kids that grew up with social media and computer, I feel they have a lot better advancement into technology, that they understand it. Mm-hmm. You see these guys running the total stations, most of them look like they couldn't run a shovel. But they sure know how to use the electronic side of it.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they know. That's their forte.
Yep.
They're good at it.
Yep. So it's giving them the tools that they know how to use to win.
And, and as far as we'll just put GPS on everything. Well, you still have to have guys that know how to pull levers. Mm-hmm. You still have to have guys in the craft. Does it help? Absolutely. There's a lot of advancements in it. And it's a lot more preparation. We got Hartley in the office next to us, and he's laying out, doing designs on everything that we're doing. And he does a fantastic job, and it helps the guys immensely. you're not out there pulling tape measures.
Mm-mm.
It's a very good advancement in how things are going.
It's pretty cool to hear what you guys have done and where you're at, and then the company as a whole. So what can Western States do to help you guys be more successful? What can we do to help you?
Well, machines break down. That's the only guarantee we have when we buy a machine, is it's going to break down. Not if, when.
Yep.
They do. So, and with the way Western States has been approaching it, it's very fast, hands-on of getting it repaired. So that has been, I would say, a large part of our success of completing jobs. When I ran skid steer, I was out running a job and I ended up blowing a line. My trailer was parked right there. I crawled off the pile, threw it on the trailer, headed down. I was in Pasco, went down there, dropped it off, grabbed a loaner. I was able to get one. Everything was under warranty, and I was back on the job in 45 minutes. The landscapers were waiting on me. They understood.
Yeah.
So with that, yeah, Caterpillar they have been a very, very viable part of what we are doing of helping to complete our jobs. So long as they keep on with what they're doing of keeping techs available, knowledgeable for all the upcoming future issues, regardless of how it is, you're going to have problems with machines.
Oh, yeah.
In this technology, there's learning curves on everything, new advancements. But as long as you guys are on the leading curve of it, we'll be able to get through it.
Oh, that's awesome. You started an Instagram recently.
Yes, so personally, I started an Instagram because our company has had one now for a while. And I had recently listened to a podcast where they were talking about the advancement of social media and how it is beneficial for a company. And they said that this is the forms of advertisement. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
All you do is go out and showcase your job. All you need to do is go ahead and post it up. Say you got a kid sitting in school. He's about to graduate. And he's scrolling through Instagram. And boom, D&D Tri-Rivers Excavating shows up installing a water main.
Yeah.
That looks pretty cool. Caterpillar, Western States, pops up. A guy underneath turning a wrench, dropping a belly pan on an excavator. That same kid. That looks pretty cool. I'm mechanically inclined. That's going to be, a sense that draws him in. So our company has it, and we put a lot of very cool pictures. We got some nice semis. Well, I was reading through comments, and there was a guy that, man, how long you guys been in the trucking company? No, we do excavating, but it is very good. Like, I agree. That is awesome to get the rollers. I like it. I like hearing Jake coming down the hill.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
But so I was like, I want to go ahead and start up and I want to try get a couple pictures and see what happens. So back to the podcast, the guy was saying that the first thing about it is advertisement. So you can go ahead and get employees and you can get jobs. And I was like, okay, well, so that
I need
was
both of those things.
Yes. So that was my goal.
Yeah.
So a week in, I went ahead and took a video. We were up in Mesa. We were ripping down a trailer. So we're demolishing a trailer. We got two dumpsters parked on site. We have our black Kenworth parked there with his gray trailer. We have our yellow transfer right there, and we have our 315 reaching, pulling it down. It's snowy. And I'm like, this is going to be a cool video. All right. So I'm asking the younger guys, I'm 36. This is a little bit outside of my comprehension, but I'm asking the boys. I was like, well, hey, what gets better views? Pictures or videos? They're like, if you're able to do a nice video, that will go ahead and do a bunch. Okay, so I'll try it out. So I went ahead and took a 23-second video. asked them all the hashtags, however that works for the algorithm. It's outside of my
Oh, you're
capacity, dude.
You're learning.
But I'm trying to figure it out.
yeah.
And I was like, and I will tag the company and, just a different perspective of the company.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see how to showcase that. Put it on at 9:00, I think it was. At 11:30, had a kid, 19 years old kid, go ahead and tell me, hey, I seen your video. I applied for your company.
Oh, no way.
And I'm like, right on. That's awesome.
What
That
did
is
you ask
awesome.
for? That's
Well,
it.
As soon as we get a job from it. But that's,
Yeah.
that's what it is. I'm like, okay, so that went ahead and proved everything that the podcast was saying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's unique. I don't know what the podcast was. That was the only thing I had taken away from it. So whatever else they had said wasn't, I didn't take it away. It has to do with
The social media is going to get me more jobs and employees.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
need
sir.
to figure that out.
Yep. So that was my, kind of my exploration into the Instagram of
Nice.
can I showcase what we do? There's an algorithm to it.
Oh, yeah.
And, I had seen that. So we had our black Kenworth with our gray trailer. We had the 305 and the 255 parked in front of a American flag on a painting on a building. What's it called?
Mural.
Yeah, whatever. So
You were there.
Merle. So yeah, so that thing is parked in front of it. That was the black Kenworth with the 2 gray machines. I was like, ooh, this is cool. I want to see if it ends up on Western States.
Yeah.
And that was a cool picture. You guys primarily post stuff from up in Idaho is where a lot of the pictures come from. And I check out, been checking out a lot of them jobs, what comes up. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's a, good form of
We're
advertisement.
trying to branch out. That's why we're here today.
That's
why
I
we're here
agree.
today.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Well, cool, man. I appreciate your time. I've taken up a bunch of your morning. Thank you for making the time short notice. First
absolutely.
off, massive. And I'm excited, dude. It's a cool company to be a part of. I'm excited. Where do I sign up? It's pretty cool what you guys got going on.
D&D Tri-Rivers.com.
There you go.
Go ahead and fill out an application
There
there.
you go. I'd have to start as a laborer, but
Yeah, I
don't
don't
have
think
any
we
other
would hire
skills.
you.